What is good, guys? It is Reed and welcome back to another video. Today is something a little bit different. A few weeks ago I posted that I will be doing a Q&A and I asked you guys to drop me some questions, and so this is that video. This is the answer to the Q&A. Now, I got a lot of great questions. Honestly, I was surprised with some of the quality of the questions. Can't wait to answer them. I didn't I read a few, but I tried not to read too many of them. I want to give a unfiltered, a very personal, sort of off the top of my head response, just to give you guys a little bit of a chance to get to know me better. If you like this style of video, let me know. I can do more for sure, Also, I wanted to know, I've been thinking about doing live streams at some point. I don't know if that's something you guys would want. Please let me know. But that is definitely something I am considering, so I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Now, this video, like I said, Q&A, so let's just jump right into it with question number one. So the first question comes from Abhishek, and he asks, how did you start in magic, and what was the first move you learned? So this story, I guess, ties into the Jack of Hearts very closely. You can see I have that tattoo. It's on my phone all the time, and it's my favorite card. You guys have seen it in a lot of videos. So I got started in magic because of my grandfather. When I was young, very young, probably around the age of like 5 or 6, he showed me a couple of card tricks, really simple stuff, the trick where you take the card and put it behind your back, and then you'd take it back and you'd flip the card over so you could see it. Like really simple stuff like that, or the one with the cards in the columns, and you ask them what column it's in, then you deal them again, you ask them what row it's in and all that. And I was very fascinated. I remember he showed me how to do them and I learned them, and it was great. And from then on it gets a little blurry. I'll fill in what I remember. I do remember getting magic kits. I had a few different magic kits for my birthday, for Christmas. Now, I can't remember, to be honest, why I got them. And what I mean by that is I don't remember, did I ask for them? Was it something I was interested in? Did my parents just get them for me? I want to say I always showed an interest in it, because I do remember always having an interest in those tricks, but I can't say exactly what it was, if it was something that I specifically went out there and said, hey, I want this for my birthday or whatever. But nonetheless, I had a few of those. My aunt bought me my first book on card tricks, and I remember reading through some of that and doing some of the tricks, and I was always fascinated. I knew from a very young age I wanted to be an engineer, and so I don't know if that played into it, sort of the analytical mind, liking to think of how to fool people and seeing all these cool, neat ideas to be able to trick people, and I always was drawn to that. So that's really how I started. That's why the Jack of Hearts is my favorite card. I should say my grandfather's name is Jack, and so the Jack, and then the heart, much love there, of course. And so that's kind of how I got started into magic. And the other part of the question was, what was the first move I learned? So trick, I can say very easily, was one of those simple, take the card behind your back and you flip it over sort of thing. The first move is tough. I would go with the double lift if I had to guess. I remember learning the double lift on YouTube, and I remember doing a bunch of self-working tricks at first, and then I remember learning the double lift and practicing it a bunch and not having a great double lift, but still figuring out crutches I could use so that I could still perform it, like have the get ready done way before I even approach the person I'm going to perform on. I'd set it up and then walk to them and just hold the pinky break. I remember doing sloppy double lifts, but like figuring out I could like squeeze my hand and get the cards to line up and no one would really notice it. So I remember doing double lifts, and when I discovered that, I'd fool the pants off my brother and my parents, and they had no idea what was going on until eventually they figured out the double lift as well, and then I could no longer use that to fool them. But I do remember the double lift, so I'm going to say it was the double lift. That would be my guess. So the next question comes from my #1 fan, Exploring Space, and he has 4 questions, so let's get through them. Question 1, how long have you been performing magic? Now, this is a question I struggle with answering, because like I said, I've been doing magic for a very young age. I would guess 5 or 6 years old. So that would put me at, 16 years of doing magic. Now, I would say, that is one answer, but how much was I really performing? Not much, a bit to my siblings and parents, and I wouldn't even call that performing, so that's tough. So my current answer is 13 years. That's what I tell people. And the reason for that is, that puts me at about 9 years old. And I remember at that time sort of reading some of the books a bit and having some of those kits. And I remember, in grade 6, so at about 10 years old, I remember doing a trick in front of the whole class for like a show and tell or something like that. It was a cups and balls thing that I got in one of the kits. So, that seems like a time, like that's a performance I can actually remember, grade 6. So I'm sure even before that a little bit, but 13 years is a good number. And then there was a bit of a hiatus, and it wasn't a hiatus of magic. I always did magic and played around with cards, but it wasn't something that was in the forefront of my life, probably in the high school years, because I didn't tell anyone that I did magic, so I kept that really to me. And so I never really performed much besides my family here and there when I'd get a deck of cards. But then near the end of high school, I really dove full back into it and got my performance chops back. And then I started going out there and just loving it and really diving in, started to invest in more products and read more and really take everything seriously, start to make my own stuff, write notes. So, really seriously, extremely seriously the last 5 years. But really it's been, 13 to 16 years of me doing magic. What sleight takes you long to master? So the longest sleight, false deals, I'd say, because to get them to the point where you've mastered them so that they look exactly like your fair deal is tricky, with those bottom deals, those second deals, bottom deal being the more difficult one. But to do both of them, being able to do fair, second, bottom, back to back to back and hit all 3 of those in a continuous cycle, that's a drill I like to do to practice a lot. And that took a while. That took a long time. But I really went all in. I remember practicing for hours a day, probably like 1,000 deals I did in my first day when I was learning the bottom deal. And by the end of the day, I could kind of get the motion right and I could kind of get the card to come out. It wasn't that clean, but if you put in the effort, you can get it. That's difficult. I think the pass, not that I like the pass or use it, I think it's an ever-evolving move that can never really be mastered because I don't think there's a perfect pass. So I guess technically that. Stuff like really hard stuff like undertow and, some of those more knacky moves are tough to master. But, my answer right now is going to be false deals. I think to really master those takes a good long period of time. And one of the things I invested the most time into, that and the DPS maybe. How to overcome performance anxiety. Now, I have just filmed a few days ago a How to Make Your Magic Better episode all about performance anxiety in the context of magic. And so that video is going to come out, so I'm not going to answer this too much because I went into crazy detail. It's probably going to be like 40 minutes long. I don't know. I didn't even bother. I haven't edited it yet, but it's a great video, ton of content in there. I'll give you a few quick tips, just to kind of give you some insight on what I'm going to dive into in that video. My biggest things are throw yourself in the fire. That is a motto that I live by in my life, and all that means is to just throw yourself into the situation to the point where there's no turning back. So if you go up to someone, you say, "You want to see a magic trick?" Well, you've thrown yourself in the fire. Now you have to show them something. There's no turning back. You can't run away. So just approaching someone, just saying, "You want to see a magic trick?" Even if you're not ready, you want to see a magic trick? They'll be like, "Yeah." And now you're like, "Okay, now I have to do something," right? Throw yourself in the fire. It always turns out better than you think. Another thing, you want to build like a network. So you want to start with the people close to you, your family, practice on them, get more comfortable, and then people will trickle in those experiences. Maybe your brother's friend or your aunt, your uncle, and then you go to extended family, and then it'll be your friends, right? And then your friends might have a friend over while you're performing for them, and that friend who you don't know watches. So now you've performed to someone outside of that circle, and then you perform to your friend's parents, and it kind of builds a tree, and you get more confidence each time. And then you want to do little things to build your confidence. It's like a game of Jenga confidence. As you build up, slowly doing little things, you build that tower of confidence higher and higher. But then when you have something that knocks down your confidence, it feels like, if you take something from the bottom, it topples over all the progress you made before, because you really have that sense that you really get internally down, and you shouldn't let that get to you, because we all make mistakes. What do you do when a spectator asks you to do the same trick once again? That is a wonderful question. I usually handle this the same way. I always say, let me show you something else, and I just quickly go into something else, and they usually just forget about it. Or I do like the line, I know it's corny, but I like the line, once a trick, second time a lesson, or whatever. That line gets a good laugh usually. Depends on the trick. I suppose some tricks I will do again if I know it's still gonna fool them, or it might hit harder the second time. Like a triumph, I might not do a second time because they know what's coming, but like a quick transpo I might do again, like a simple transpo with a dupe, you could maybe do again, because doing it twice, they're not going to get the method, and it'll even hit stronger because now they'll be able to watch and see everything, and they still won't know how it's done, and they won't guess the method from just seeing it twice. So I think that could, that context could, but normally I'll just say, no, I'll show you something else. It'll be even more impressive, even if that's a lie. They'll just say, okay. Or I'll do something, like if I do a mind reading trick and they're like, no, try to read my mind. Or do it again on me. I'll do a different mind reading trick on that person, right? So I don't like to do the same thing twice too often, but usually it's not that big of a deal. And most people will never guess the method for most tricks after seeing it twice. Sometimes it makes the trick even better. So kind of context specific, but usually I'll just try to segue into something different to show them, right? Next question is from Joyal. I don't know if I said that right. I said it kind of French, but I don't know if it's French. I don't think so. Anyway, he says, Reed, I'm nervous when I perform card tricks for my family. How do I overcome this? After I showed card tricks to my younger brother for the first time, he was so amazed to see this, but when I showed him more tricks, he himself has begun to become a heckler and began to ruin my tricks when I perform in front of the family and guests come to the house. Is there any way by which I can prevent him from doing that? What are the ways to get rid of hecklers who have always been a trouble for magicians like us? Great question. Okay. For the nervous part, again, I'm going to direct you in a few days, now probably probably in 2 weeks, like sometime in the next 2 weeks, I'll put out that How to Make Your Magic Better video on performance anxiety. So that video will help you a lot. So I'll refer you to that and what I kind of answered in the last question. Practice, 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 of course. If you get your routines more smooth, then you'll have less room for error. But I really dive into a lot more detail in that video. So go into that. The second part of your question, though, is much more interesting to me. Your brother's become a heckler. Now, this is going to happen no matter what. If you show someone in your family, like a girlfriend, a sibling, they're going to learn magic because of you performing. Typically, you're performing it for your first time, so you might mess up. They'll catch something, and over time, they'll just get familiar with the same little movements and tells, and they'll start to be able to see things. So at a certain point, you're going to want to have a chat with that person. And that's what I did when my brother became aware of many of the methods. There was a time where it became hard to fool him, and then I really elevated my magic, and now I can do it again. But there was a time where I couldn't fool him too much with the stuff I did and knew. So I'd talk to him and I would say, look, I want to show you a trick, but I want you to just go off what you see. Don't go off the tells, or don't go off what you know. Just pretend you don't know. And he was very good at understanding, like, okay, I'm just here as a critique trying to help him. Most people don't have the knowledge that I have. And so I can just watch this with that mindset, sort of as like watching it as a magician. Like when we're watching other magicians, we don't call them out on everything that we see, right? We understand that it's not for us. So I kind of got him in that context, in that mindset. I talked to him and just said, hey, look, you know what I do. I'm not trying to fool you anymore. Just help me get better, right? And they watch it through a different lens now, sort of in the same lens as a magician would watch it. That's with like a heckler sort of type, or someone in your family who knows all that stuff. A heckler out in the real world, out in the streets, if you have someone who heckles you, that's a different story. I like to try to give them a chance and handle it with humor. I might crack a few jokes at them, or you say, hey, let me perform here, or whatever. I had someone give me a few really good liners you could use with them, like if you're doing magic and obviously you're doing it for free, you're on the streets and someone's heckling you, you say, you know what? You won't have to pay. You don't have to pay. The rest will pay, but you don't have to pay. I think that's a funny line. Kind of make them feel like, oh wait, am I ruining this paid show? Even though obviously everyone knows they're not paying, but you just, Or he had this other really funny thing. This is one of my coworkers who does magic as well, and he said, he'd say, you know, okay, I'm going to try to read your mind. Let me read your mind. And he'd give them like a piece of paper or something, or just say, okay, I want you to go over there. And I want you to think of a word and make it really hard. Make it something I would never get. And you send them over there and you say, no, go around the corner over there, or go in that room over there. Close the door, lock it. I don't want to be able to see you. I'll come get you when we're ready. They go over there, they lock the door, they go away, and then you just continue performing magic for the rest of the people. You just leave them. Everyone gets a good laugh, you know. They come back and you say, no, I'm still working on it, go back. Anyway, that's some great advice from someone who's got a lot of experience. So I like a lot of those one-liners, or some of the tricks. Like Ramsey has a good video on like how to deal with hecklers, little funny tricks you can do, stuff like that. But usually I'll just, you know, start with, hey, you know, just let me perform, man. Like I'll, you know, you can try to catch me later, or I'll try to fool you later. But, you know, if it's just one person, I'll just kind of move on. Or there are certain tricks that are kind of heckler proof, like the method's too out there that they won't guess it. You know, stuff that you can do to fool them, little things like that. I don't really deal with hecklers too much. I'm usually good at handling them, or, you know, putting them in their place. Say, hey, just you know, watch me perform. I'm just here to entertain, you know. If you want to try to catch me, we can do that later, and then just not perform for them later or whatever. I don't love performing for hecklers either, but it is what it is. It's one of those things you deal with. I like to try to do humor or that sort of thing. All right, next we got 3 questions from Oathmain, I don't know. Anyway, 1, how to make practice more effective? Another wonderful question. Honestly, this is a tough one. Okay. I'm of the belief that you want to focus on one thing at a time. So pick the move you want to master, and well, mastering is going to take forever, and you don't want to practice just one thing till you master it, because you'll never move on to the next thing. But practice one thing till you're proficient enough at it to go use in the real world, right? So like when I was trying to learn the bottom deal a few years ago, I sat down, watched Daniel Madison's masterclass, and started practicing. Like I said, I practiced the entire day. I probably did like 1,000 deals, and then I went back the next day and did it again. And by the end of those 2 days, I had a really good foundation, and then just a little bit of time here and there every other day. Like I'd start to just do it a little bit at a time, and I'd get the hang of it and get better and better and better and better. So I would do something like this. I like to dive all in right away, because this gets you all the knowledge you need in that foundation. You want to build a strong foundation. So if you have a nice video to watch or whatever, watch it, maybe watch it again. Make sure you digest everything. Watch it and carefully listen and watch everything they're doing, right? If you're not sure where your pinky's supposed to go and they don't make a clear point, just watch the video. Really actually analyze where his pinky goes on every movement. Even if he's not saying it, you can watch. That's the brilliance of video. So do that and get everything down, and don't practice the wrong thing. Make sure you get the right thing down. That's why I say maybe watch it a few times. You'll get the hang of it. Now, once you have that down, then you go all in, you practice it, you get your foundation. You can at least do the movement, right? If you're trying to do like a clip shift, it's very tricky to even get the card onto the top of the deck or whatever. So practice it until you can at least get the card on top. Even if it's really ugly, you can at least kind of do the movement. Now you have your foundation, and then you can practice it, you know, not as crazy. Like you go crazy that first day or two, and then once you have that, you can at least start to do the movement. Then you can do it, you know, maybe an hour, half an hour a day. Just fiddle with it, and you can kind of do it almost in the background. Build the muscle memory, get stronger. Eventually you'll ingrain that habit. Your practice will be very effective, and then you can start looking in the mirror, getting the angles down, making smaller tweaks until you've got it perfect. And that's how I tend to practice moves. Okay, next question. 1 year of magic and my hand's still not that smooth. That's an interesting question. What does that even mean, though? That's what I would ask you. Like, how do you know when your hand's smooth? Like, obviously you're comparing to other people, but you can't compare to anyone but yourself, okay? Think about where you were a year ago, and have you improved since then? That's the big question. If you haven't, then yes, you're doing something wrong if you're putting in the work. But smoothness, honestly, is just not that important. Your spectators don't care about how smooth you are. They care about the effect. And that's something I learned. Like, I used to be the one to try to do things smooth and flourishy, but then I stopped caring because no one else cares. You know, magicians, like for example, on a double lift, we say, oh, it's a bad habit to pick up from the back of the deck to get your break. It doesn't matter. no one notices that stuff. Like, only magicians care about this stuff, guys, and it doesn't matter. When you're in the real world actually performing, it does not matter, okay? It's these little things, that being smooth, being able to do flourishes, man, it doesn't matter. It's cool to show off, and if that's what you want to do, go ahead. I have a few flourishy moves that I do. But that's why I don't spend time on a lot of that stuff, because to me, as a performing magician, it does not matter. So, to tie back to your question, to be smooth, doesn't matter, man, but, you know, keep working at it. Be light. That's one tip I can give you. Don't squeeze so tightly on your moves. Be very light, finesse, you know. And as you get more comfortable, it'll just come with time, you know. But at the end of the day, I'm sure you're miles ahead of where you were a year ago, so you're already smoother. You're just comparing yourself to the wrong people. Compare yourself to yourself and no one else, right? Question 3. What does it take to be a professional close-up magician? Now, I'll be honest. I'm probably not the greatest person to ask because, you know, I'm not a professional magician. I don't get paid for gigs at the moment. So I will give you my advice with keeping that in mind. If you really want good advice on this, I can direct you to Craig Petty at Magic TV, his YouTube channel. He's a wonderful working magician. He's got a lot of great advice on all of these kind of topics, how to build a set, how to get clientele, all that kind of really great stuff. So go check out Craig's stuff. I'll link it in the description actually. But for me, you know, you want to practice, of course. You want to get good. You want to know your material inside and out. You want to have a lot of material, good material, all that kind of obvious stuff. But try to be unique. You know, try to find something to set yourself apart. And you know what? It doesn't even have to be set yourself apart. Try to just find yourself. So for me, you know, who do I think my magic character is? I try to bring, if it's possible, I don't know if this is possible. I think Pig Cake would roast me for saying this, but I try to make magic feel kind of cool at least. I try to bring a level of coolness, not make it corny as much as I can, not make it too corny. You know, I try to, you know, I'm just some guy who I'm just some dude who just can do some cool things. Just come watch, it's pretty neat. You know, I try to be entertaining. I like to mix in comedy and humor, but also come across as not like a corny magician. Just like, yeah, I'm a magician. And that's why I used to not really call myself magician for a while, because I thought that kind of tied corniness to it. But now I don't really care. But I try to make magic feel cool with the effects I pick. I don't know, I make it try to feel real. Try to feel like I don't do anything that's like super out there magic-wise, like stuff that's really like powerful, like evokes emotion. That's, you know what I mean? Like that's kind of my genre. Like that's why I do the mind reading and the card stuff. I don't know, it feels not like corny magic to me. It feels, again, cool is not the right word, because I don't know if magic can be cool. Most people would say probably not, but I tried that, and that's kind of my persona, I guess, when I perform. So you want to find that, and then, man, you just want to get out there and perform. You got to start getting out there and performing. You learn so much throwing yourself out there, start performing. You just become a way better performer. You learn so much about your routines and who you are as a person. And then you're just, you know, you're on the right track at that point. You work your way up, start to find gigs, find paid work, and go from there. Next, we have a question from Safil Mohan, my guy. Hi Reed, what is your favorite magic or mentalism book? That is a tough question, my man. My favorite mentalism stuff currently is Peter Turner's masterclass on mentalism. So it's like 12 volumes or books. There might even be 13. In each volume, he has a volume on billet work, drawing duplications, propless mentalism, observational mentalism, number mentalism, psychological forces, playing card forces. Each one of those books are amazing. I've created so many spin-off routines from that. There's so many routines that I use from those. Just wonderful material, tough stuff, but you know, the best of the best in mentalism in my mind, and at least for the type of mentalism I want to do. Magic book, I love John Bannon's High Caliber. I love Danny Doherty's Semi-Automatica too. I'll be honest, I haven't read a ton of magic books though. I'd like to read more. I'm just not a huge book guy, but I do need to read more. But some of those books are some of my favorites that it's coming to mind. Really great stuff, man. The next question is from Sean Ting. He says, what made you so passionate about magic? Man, I don't even know. If I had to guess, something about the way my brain works, tied in with being an engineer and being creative and loving to create and thinking outside the box and being analytical, made me get this mind to try to create things that could, the idea of creating things that can fool people is what I love. Like, it's not an ego thing, but it is so much fun for me to solve this puzzle, right? Of coming up with an effect and figuring out how to do it. It's like a puzzle that I just love. And that's why I'm hooked on the methods and creating tricks and stuff, because it's just so cool to me, all these different things that we come up with and how we use them and presentation and that sort of thing. And then the performing side, I love to work on presentation in the same way. I love to evoke emotion. I love to get people to see something they've never seen. I love having a unique talent. I really do. It's something that I can take with me everywhere and show anyone, and I always get amazing reactions. It's really heartwarming to get those reactions, and I love making people feel happy. I love entertaining people, and it's just so great. I really love everything about it. So from the performing to the trick creating, man, it takes me back to when I was a kid and what my grandfather showed me, and that's, I guess, what sparked it. So I don't know why, but those would be some of my guesses, but it's just something I love to do, you know? This is a question from my boy, Zach Laz. What's your favorite video of yours so far? So my favorite video is definitely gotta be one of the behind the screens videos. I'm gonna link one of those above right here once I decide what my favorite one is. I love number one for what it was. It started the trend. I felt like it was a groundbreaking video in the concept. I still think Behind the Screens is the most creative magic series on YouTube. Nothing's gonna change my mind on that. Like the whole, like seeing what you can do in the virtual setting, how amazing some of the effects you can do and some of the crazy methods, and then actually getting to see how we do it. Even for laymen, I get people asking me all the time, how do magic tricks work? And I just direct them. I say, go watch that video. And they always have a blast. I get such great feedback. They're still not my most popular videos, even though I feel they should be. Maybe it's just because we put so much work into them, but you guys need to watch those, man. They're so cool. Partially probably because of the creativity I get to do. Like, we create every effect and method from scratch, so that's all a lot of fun too, even the build coming up with those. And then what else? Just seeing all that hard work, like 4 or 5 hours just creating every individual trick, just to see it all come together in the 1-2 minute performance on Omegle, and then having that behind the scenes angle to see it all in action is just so cool. Editing those are a whole lot of fun. But my favorite, let's see. So number one was awesome because of it was funny. It's the funniest one. There's a lot of comedic moments in a lot of those tricks. From the spell to the card under the shirt is hilarious. And the last horror one might be my favorite trick of all. Just the theme and all the little details and intricacies to make that feel like a horror themed trick, and actually having the person, I believe they actually bought the whole ghost story that I told them. And I think we got the perfect participant for that. You should see them, like their reaction's amazing, so funny. And I think they actually bought my story about the spirits, which was even better because I didn't think anyone would fall for it. So there's that one really holds a special place in my heart. The second one, probably the best method we've ever used with the any card, any dart trick, is insane. Best method, I think, of the series so far. Once you see that method, it's just mind-blowing that it actually worked, and I can't believe me and my buddy came up with that. It's crazy. Such a great effect too. The card to egg is hilarious, such a good effect as well. The effect is amazing. So that's some of the strongest magic. The third one, man, the methods on the third one are really awesome too. You get the now you see me moment in the card to glass, which is so sick to watch. Torn and ballooned effect is amazing. It's such a great effect, maybe the best effect on there. Using that table and the cleanness of that fan effect is amazing. So overall, man, I'd have to give it to number 2 or number 1. Which one? I gotta pick one for the sake of it. I'm gonna say number 1, man. Something about that first behind the screens video is so sentimental, whether it's using that fishing rod, the card under shirt, so funny, the effects are great, the reactions are great, it's such a funny episode. So behind the screens, episode 1 is my favorite video so far. Go check that out, and the rest of the behind the screens videos. I love the tutorials too, of course, and the performance videos are a close second in some of my favorite videos, the street magic. All right, and my last question is probably my favorite question of the bunch. This is again from Joyal, and he says, "Hi Reed, I have a question. How are you taking your passion towards card tricks along with your profession? Did it ever make any problems in your work field? Will my passion towards card tricks become an obstacle in my academic life? What's your opinion on this?" Man, that's such a good question that I never hear asked on YouTube. So let me tell you a bit about my education and what I do for work. So I am currently a civil engineering student, okay? I'm graduating in a few months, but I currently am a student now. I do work as a structural engineer at a structural consulting firm, and I do this as an internship right now. So I do work a full-time job currently, and you know, I get paid and all that stuff. And so, you know, I see my coworkers every day, so I do have a knowledge both at school and out in the field. I have years of internship experience in the actual engineering field. So like I said, I'm a civil engineer, so it is a demanding job and an extremely demanding schooling as well. So in terms of schooling, your magic won't get in the way if you know how to prioritize. Now, I think magic should be a priority. I'm a big believer in doing things that make you happy. You guys don't need to sacrifice what you love just for school or for work. And I don't know how to say this without coming across a certain way, but I feel like I have to get my message across. I go to school at one of the top universities in Canada for engineering. Very prestigious and very difficult school to get into. The program is a lot of work. You know, we had up to 40 hours of class a week, plus, you know, another 30, 40 hours in homework, really intense, especially in the first few years. And I was always doing magic, always practicing, sharpening up my skills, learning new stuff. The hardest I've ever went in my life at magic is over my university career. I started this YouTube channel in the middle of this academic endeavor that I've been in. I started up from scratch. I put out a video every 4 days, long videos. I edit them all. I do everything, absolutely everything by myself. I got out there to perform street magic. So here's the thing. When it comes to schooling, guys, you need to schedule, okay? Allocate time for everything, but make sure you allocate time for yourself and your hobbies. Hobbies are super important, and not enough people have hobbies. If you are fortunate enough to have such an amazing hobby as magic, please do not lose it. Life's too short. We gotta live for something, and having hobbies is something that keeps us sane. Times are gonna get tough in your schooling. Times are gonna get tough in your life, and you need hobbies and things that you enjoy, okay? So make sure you keep these hobbies, and the way to do that is to schedule and allocate time. If you allocate a schedule and you're disciplined, guys, there's a great saying that I found recently, something I'm actually gonna get tattooed on me soon because I just love it so much. It says there are two pains in life, discipline and regret, and it's up to you to choose which one you're comfortable living with, okay? So what that means is that you can either live a disciplined life or a regretful life. Both are difficult. Having discipline is hard, guys, right? It sucks. Going to the gym every day when everyone else is out partying, studying when everyone else is out partying. It's hard to be disciplined. But it's a pain that if you live with the discipline, you won't live with regret. And if you don't live with discipline, you'll be stuck with regret. So there are two pains in life. You choose which one you want to live with. I'm a big believer, stay disciplined. If you're disciplined, you can stick to your schedule and you have everything planned out. It won't matter that you have an exam the next day. You can practice magic that night because you've already done your studying, right? If you plan, I'm gonna study for 4 hours, go be disciplined and actually follow your schedule. Do it. Get the work done so that you can have your 2 hours to go practice magic the night before the exam, okay, guys? Now, you don't have to do it that way, but I was never one to miss a workout, miss magic practice because I had an exam the next day, okay? I scheduled and knew that I would need to go to the gym, knew that I would need to do magic, and I would make that happen. I wouldn't miss going out with my friends because I had an exam the next day. You need to live your life, you need to have fun and not just only be stuck on school. It's super valuable, guys, okay? So please, please have fun, enjoy your hobbies. And look, okay, I'm gonna say it. You guys, you don't need to, this doesn't mean you're gonna slack off or do bad in school. I was able to finish the top 10 in my class at one of the most prestigious universities in Canada with doing all of this. YouTube, magic, okay guys? You can do it, you can do it. You just gotta put in the work and stay disciplined, okay? And I assure you can do it, okay? When it comes to work, it's a very similar thing. You know, you're not gonna have homework to do, but you're gonna have a commute, you're gonna have responsibilities, and magic doesn't need to be put to the side, right? You can still find time, spend your weekends on magic. Right now, I work full time, but my weekends go to YouTube, okay? My weekends go to magic, my weekends go to me performing on the street. It's a grind, but I do it. You guys can do it too. My point is, you know, you should never put your hobbies aside. It's never a problem. It's a social thing, magic, right? So it's actually brought me a lot of benefits in the work field and in school because I can perform to people. I have a unique talent. When people are down, I can bring them up. You know, at lunch, I can show people card tricks and they love it. They don't get to see this every day. So, you know, in a few weeks, I'm now known all over the office as the guy who do magic. You know, I've interacted with so many different coworkers. I've you know, made an impression on people. People know who I am now, so it actually can be an advantage. Think about if you go into an interview, you have magic on your resume. I have that on my resume. People ask you to do a trick in the interview. It's happened before. You make a huge impression. That can actually get you the job. I'm not kidding, guys. So we have such a blessing to be obsessed with magic, I'm telling you. So stick with it. It won't be a problem in your field. Just, you know, introduce it to a few coworkers whenever you're feeling comfortable. If you want to, you know, start performing at work. Like that video you saw me, that was at a lunch break, guys, and I had a bunch of people watching and it was a blast. I perform at the little parties we've done at work too. Everyone loves it, so it won't get in the way, you know. Just budget your time and you'll be fine, okay? So that was a wonderful question. I hope I was able to give you guys some insight on that. I feel like I could even talk a bunch more about this and make a full video. So let me know if you guys would like me to make a video on any of these topics. Let me know if you'd like me to make how to make your magic better on any of these sort of topics or anything you want. Let me know in the comments. If you have any more questions, drop them below. If you want me to do more Q&As, let me know. And yeah, so I really appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. It was an awesome video, a lot of fun, some awesome questions, especially, you know, that last one and about balancing time, and some of your guys' more deep questions about performing, and amazing, guys. So this video was a ton of fun to make. I hope you guys enjoyed it as much as I did. With all that said, don't forget to like, please subscribe, drop me a comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.